My name is Justin Chugg, and I work with Enable. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how to leverage the government for sales referrals. And this isn't something that we normally think of as far as a referral partner, but there's actually a lot of good opportunities here within the government to help us actually come across enterprise sales. And so we'll talk a little bit about this, and we've touched upon this topic in the past, but it really deserves its own training, which is why we wanted to cover this today. Now, everyone should have received an Excel spreadsheet in the invite for today's call. If you didn't, feel free to reach out to the support team over at Enable, and we'd be more than happy to send that over to you. The spreadsheet basically had a list of as many contacts and information we had for the Fortune 500 companies, because those are really the only relevant contacts for this type of a strategy. And we'll explain why here in just a second. Now, if you remember from our referral partner call that we did a few months ago, I would say, the best types of referral relationships aren't the ones that involve a two-way street, but rather a converging one-way street. So basically, you're trying to work with referral relationships that have a complementary product offering or service, where you're able to strengthen a single product together rather than exchange leads. And so the government fits really well into this referral model, mainly because if you look at every local city or government across the country, pretty much everyone is lobbying for large corporations to relocate or invest in their local community. Also, you may consider going international for some of these opportunities if you speak a second language. A lot of those governments are doing the exact same thing. And essentially what everybody's trying to do is create jobs in their local community, which creates economic growth. And so they see this as an opportunity to invest and improve their local area. So that's really the common incentive, going back to what we talked about just a second ago. When it comes to referral partners, we're looking for referral partners who we have a common goal with. And when it comes to the local governments, they're trying to attract large corporations to their local communities. And you as a technology consultant are trying to work with these companies in helping them basically optimize their technology, and a lot of that goes hand in hand with developing new offices. Now, your city or state will likely have an organization known as the Office of Economic Development. Some of them will have different ways of defining this, and in some areas they may not even have an official department, but chances are they will have it. For instance, in my local city here in Eagle Mountain, which is pretty small even for Utah, they had recently struck a deal with Facebook to bring in a 1 million square foot data center to their backyard. And this is going to be the first of many data centers, but even a small city like Eagle Mountain is working on projects like this to bring large corporations and opportunities to their backyard. And also, I just saw this in the news this morning, so I wanted to bring this up. But in Salt Lake City, there was a new initiative to bring a hotel to the city. And so the hotel's valued at around $337 million, and the city is pitching in $281 million of that project, so essentially about 83%. And so this is really a win-win for both the city, who needed a convention center, a new convention center. They also needed, it's a win-win for the convention center themselves because they don't have to pay for most of the bill. And it could be a win-win for you if you were involved in coordinating that project. So the first step in getting referrals from the government is to really understand what are some of the initiatives that they have. What types of businesses are they trying to attract? What types of incentives do they have? So for instance, in Salt Lake, we know that they were looking for a convention center. Here in Eagle Mountain, we're looking for data centers and so forth. And so everybody has a different angle and a different initiative. So it's important to make contact and start building relationships with your local governments to try to understand who are they prospecting for. A lot of the more formal economic development groups will outline their target industries right on their website. This is the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Development's website. It kind of outlines the high-level industries that they're looking for. But it's worthwhile to spend some time and contact these local governments and try to understand a little bit more at a granular level to basically understand what types of companies, even if maybe they have a named company list that they're focusing on. And this is a good place to start, but also you want to make sure that you build relationships with these local governments, especially within the economic development sector, because you're going to need those relationships going forward. And we'll talk about why here in just a second. So after you've basically tried to understand what the government is looking for in terms of bringing different corporations to their local city, you can take that information and start contacting larger corporations. Now, chances are a lot of these companies won't be interested in relocating their headquarters, at least not right away. But the fact that you have some details about these large economic incentives that different states and local governments are offering, they're typically open to having these types of conversations. And so just the fact that you have background information about the state or city and what they're looking for, and the fact that they may be interested in providing huge financial incentives for these corporations, you can typically get appointments with contacts that you normally wouldn't get any other way. And so this is probably one of the most effective ways in penetrating large enterprise accounts. And if you start to see some interest within these organizations, which may take some time and an ongoing dialogue, which is good because you want to be able to build those relationships with these clients. But once you start to see some interest, it's a good time to basically re-engage with your contacts back at the local government level and express to them that whatever the corporation's name is, that their interest in possibly coming to that state or that city, and then try to understand what types of incentives they would be able to provide for these corporations, and then you can re-engage your dialogue with those corporations and continue to build those relationships. Now, it's important to try to maintain those relationships. The government may want to circumvent you and work directly with them, but you want to make sure that you emphasize your relationship, especially since you initiated the contact with these companies, in order to make sure that you stay in the picture. Now, another part of this formula that you want to make sure that you consider is a lot of venture capital firms are connected to the companies most likely that are going to relocate to the local city or government that you're working with. So these are companies that are basically building brand new headquarters with tens of thousands of employees. And these are the types of companies and organizations that will have the most likely to fit into this mold. And so this is also a great opportunity to bring them in as part of your lead exchange, something that we talked about in the past. So essentially the formula would be, first understand what types of incentives are available, what types of organizations your local governments are looking to bring, and then engaging with those corporations to gauge their level of interest in basically adapting or taking advantage of those incentives. Once you find some interest, you can fine-tune and solidify some of the details around that by re-engaging with your local government to understand and express that you do have a prospect for them to basically relocate or invest in their local community. What can they provide for them? And then you can use that to basically continue to build relationships with those enterprise clients and hopefully be the point of contact in enabling all of the technology and services for those new headquarters. And the venture capital organizations will likely be the best source for those organizations in terms of finding which companies are actually interested in building new headquarters, because they're constantly building up these new organizations. And they can also refer you to other businesses that are working along the same lines. So that's everything for today. Hopefully that helped everyone in terms of their sales strategy and getting into larger accounts.